Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the June 3rd meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners for the Halifax Regional Municipality. We are awaiting one other commissioner, Commissioner Mancini. He will be joining us, but we have quorum. There's 4 of us, so we will get started. Commissioners Kent and Bezic-Escanlar are unable to attend today due to travel commitments. So we'll start with our call to order and land acknowledgement. The Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. Community announcements. Are there any community announcements, commissioners? All right. Approval of the minutes from May 6th. Can I have a call for the approval of the minutes from May 6th? Thank you, Commissioner. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any errors or omissions in said minutes from May 6th? Barring none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Yummy. Motion passed. Thank you. Approval of the order of business. Madam Clerk, are there any additions or deletions or changes to the agenda?
Yes, Chair O'Malley, there is one addition to our agenda today, and that is item 13.4, security matter. And I also have a request for some change to item sequence. That item 10.2, community safety update, be heard before item 10.1, which is the Chief of Police monthly updates. As well, if item 13.4 is approved to be added, that item and item 13.3 be heard before item 13.1.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented by the clerk? Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. Motion, there's a mover and a seconder. Can we call for the questions? Is all those in favor signify by saying aye for the changed agenda? Order of business. Thank you. Motion passed. All right, item 5, business arising out of the minutes. I don't believe there is any business arising out of the minutes.
That is correct, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we'll move into item 6, call for declarations of interest. So, commissioners, does anyone have a conflict of interest to declare as a result of any item on today's agenda? Thank you. Barring that, we'll proceed as normal. No deferred business and correspondence. I do not believe that there's anything under 8.1.1. Correct, Madam Clerk?
Chair O'Malley, correspondence was received and circulated for items 8.3.1 and 13.3.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I think we're moving on to 8.3.1. Are there any petitions by any commissioners? No? Then we're going to move on to 8.3.1. And we want to welcome with great hospitality to Nancy Saunders and a presentation by the group called Nova Scotia Moms for Compassionate and Collaborative Mental Health Care. And we had a presentation back, I think it was when I first became a commissioner, about
September
2024. Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
And the
thank
floor
you
is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm Nancy Saunders, and I'm a member of the Nova Scotia Moms for Compassionate and Collaborative Mental Health Care. This is a bit of an outline, but I'm really here today to give you an update on our work, some of the progress we've made, and the work that we are focused on this year in 2026. This is a slide that very similar to a slide that we used in 2024. I'm just going to skip this and move to the next one. But I do want to say that over the last couple of years, we've seen a lot in the news, a lot of stories, and a lot of really great work being done to improve our wellness checks and improve our mobile crisis calls and a lot more collaboration. So we do see these improvements for sure. Nova Scotia Moms for Compassionate and Collaborative Mental Health Care are moms who either lost our loved ones to suicide, or we are currently supporting loved ones with serious mental illness. We want a compassionate and collaborative, sorry, I keep moving those slides. We want a compassionate and collaborative mental health and addiction system where families are respected and treated as part of the care team, an equal part of the care team. Our call to action is not about violating privacy or violating autonomy. It's about recognizing that mental illness, such as severe depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, some substance use disorders, psychosis, and the symptoms of these illness, like anosognosia, which is a lack of insight into the illness or understanding how ill you are, they all impair a person's ability to recognize they are ill. And it's about understanding that some mental illnesses can cause individuals to become angered or not trust people who are trying to help them. Often, serious mental illness symptoms prevent an individual from consenting to share vital information. And certainly these symptoms make it impossible for them to advocate for themselves. I'm going to skip this slide, but it's in your package. It really is just a list of all the critical information that often trusted caregivers have and clinicians do not have. In 2024, we asked government for 4 main things to improve our mental health and addiction system. A key one there that I'm talking about today is the amendment to the privacy legislation to enable timely, appropriate communication between clinicians and trusted members of the family caregivers. We did get the law changed in October. It was passed October 3rd, and it was proclaimed on April 1st. And what that means is a clause that was creating a significant barrier for families to be able to help their loved ones with serious mental illness was changed to remove the word imminent, which means that clinicians can act more quickly to provide vital information and receive vital information that can protect health, safety, and life. But what we are asking for is a much broader culture and practice change, and that's what we are focused on right now, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. What this change should mean, if it's implemented properly and everyone that needs the information gets the information, it should mean that a lack of communication no longer happens when it should happen. So just to remind everyone, what we often see, those of us that are still supporting loved ones with serious mental illness, and I'm sure a lot of the police and other people working in your outreach programs see these things. We have a lot of failures in our system today. A failure to communicate with family and caregivers in general, a failure of care and treatment of individuals in general, premature discharges from the ER or hospital, and failures to admit to the hospital when criteria is met that should mean people get inpatient care. The results of these failures are very clear to people who are working closely with these families and these individuals with serious mental illness. What these failures mean is a lack of compassionate and effective care and treatment in general, a lack of effective discharge and safety plans, a lack of resolution of symptoms. People end up continuing to be very sick, a lack of realistic plan for stability in the community. It means cycling illness and returns to the ER, and often an entry into the criminal justice system. And sometimes death, as many of our moms have had to endure. So in 2025, we began to work closely with government on a number of these issues, and we continue to work with government. Our focus right now is having input into the training of all clinicians to understand what these changes mean and what we need to have ingrained in our systems around dealing with serious mental illness. Our work in 2026 involves trying to partner with as many organizations as possible to raise awareness and to get information out there to caregivers. And thankfully, the Public Safety Office is helping us with that. Also, all municipal police and RCMP and many outreach programs are helping us to raise awareness and distribute important information to caregivers. We are also working with the regulated health professional colleges, like the College of Social Workers, the College of Nursing. There's about 7 different colleges that we are continuing to work with. and the related faculties. And our goal is to advance educational initiatives that prioritize recovery and foster stronger collaboration between clinicians and caregivers in the treatment of serious mental illness. And we are making some headway there. We're also creating tools and information to empower caregivers, which is mostly why I'm here today, and continuing to increase our advocacy and public awareness, and as well educating the public and stakeholders in as many ways we can. We get invited to conferences, seminars, we come to meetings, do presentations like this, etc. So my final slide focuses on our website, novascotiamoms.ca. We have done a lot of work creating tools and information for caregivers. We need to empower our caregivers to be able to help their loved ones. So a couple of the handouts that I believe were given to you today were some of our pamphlets. There was one on communication with physicians, what caregivers actually can do and what physicians can do in terms of collaborative approach, and the Caregiver ER Ready pamphlet. So what I'm asking today, and Andrea has my email, so if any of you have any ideas on how we can further educate the public, get information out to caregivers about our work and how we can help them, then please let me know. What we're asking today is any way that any of your members can help get information to your constituents or through other work that you do to help us raise awareness and help caregivers. And that's it, if there's any questions.
Thank you. I'm sure the commissioners will have some questions, so we'll start with Commissioner Carter. Thank you.
Yeah, to your last comment there, looking for assistance or any help, have you addressed Dell Med School? Because Dell Med School has, it's an opportunity to teach those who will graduate, and there's two groups that graduate from there. There's the doctors who will graduate, and there's also the PA, the physician assistant, and they'll be front line as soon as they graduate. So are you connected with them?
Yes. In fact, we had a very successful meeting on May 4th with the Dean of the medical faculty and the Assistant Dean, Stephen Miller. And we presented to them many areas that we feel there are gaps in the current curriculum, and also gaps in ongoing professional development for the practicing physicians around the province. And they are currently working on where to insert the gaps, the things we identified into their curriculums, and developing professional development modules. And we will be involved in that.
Yeah, and don't forget the physician assistants.
And the physician assistants.
They're at the Dell Med School as
That's
well.
right.
So
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's also an interdisciplinary medicine program there that that we would be involved with as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mancini.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nancy, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the work and the other moms do. I think everybody in this room knows the power of moms, and I appreciate that work, especially around the area of mental health. Thank you so much. So my questions are, I have two questions. One, you had your slide up there, partnering with public safety, police, and RCMP. So could you elaborate what that partnering actually is?
Yeah, we're asking to get information out to families and caregivers. So the public safety office, I spoke with Amy. I had talked to her and Bill a couple of years ago when we were doing our work, and she helped me connect with people in the community policing and also representatives from the RCMP around the province who are quite engaged in community work and outreach programs. And they have all received electronic copies of our pamphlets and are in the process of distributing those as best they can in their own communities. And that's happening around the province. And we also met with the CHART organization last week, which was very, very helpful. And that's the hub of organizations within HRM that kind of are working to break down silos and find solutions. They mostly work with youth and families and children. And there were great opportunities discovered at that meeting as well, where they could help us get information out to caregivers. And in turn, we'll probably go to some of those organizations and do presentations as well.
Have you had any communication with our care team? Or are you even familiar with our care team now?
Yes. I also met with Matt Reed who Amy also connected us with. And yeah, he was great. And they are also helping to distribute our information as they're doing their work in the field. And I'm waiting to hear back from Matt because I believe I'm doing a talk or a presentation to the members that work on those teams as well. Yes, we have it. We did have a lot of great connections from the public safety office.
Good. Glad to hear that. The last thing is that, on this commission, there's 3 elected officials, and we have the ability to push out information into our communities.
Yes.
So any digital information that you have, if you could send it to Andrea, if you haven't done so.
That would be great.
I'd be happy. I'm sure Councillor Hinch and others would be happy to push that out into our communities.
Yeah, we also have a Facebook page that we keep
Yep.
updated with all of our information,
Wonderful.
and it's connected back to our website. So if there's ways to connect that way,
Absolutely. If you could
all
share
of
that
that
information with
helps.
us. Happy to do so.
that would be great. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
Yeah. Again, thank you, Nancy, for your work.
Okay, thanks.
Just to add on to that, we could likely find a way to make use of our BOPC webpage as well to share some information.
That would be
Commissioner
great.
Hinch.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Nancy. Great presentation.
Thank you.
So one of the things that came to mind for me when we speak about gaps and things of that nature is the African Nova Scotian community, the Indigenous communities. I find that there's a huge gap there.
Yeah.
Are you in touch with those communities or those groups? And if not, maybe there's something that we can do to, bridge the gap together.
Yes.
I do like Commissioner Mancini said, we do, town halls and things of that nature. My last one that I had, there was all kinds of, we had the care there, we had the safety team there. It would have been wonderful if you were there as well.
Mhm.
So if there's anything that we can do, if there's anything I can do to help you to bridge those gaps, I would definitely be honored to do that.
Yes, thank you very much. And we do connect with all those groups at different seminars and conferences that we go to. And I know a lot of our moms are out there in the field doing a lot of work, so I'm sure they do. But we need more opportunities to connect to those communities. So
Yes.
absolutely, if you have any ideas, we'd really appreciate it.
For sure.
It would help us.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you. I just had a question. You had mentioned that the legislation had changed to enable clinicians to share information about these situations with family members and such. Do you know what the scope or the definition of clinicians
Yeah.
is?
Yeah, the
And
terms, yeah.
whether our care team, are they considered clinicians under the legislative definition?
Yeah,
Or
well,
are HR are members of our sworn officer members?
yeah, so if, when I say clinicians, I'm referring to clinicians currently underneath the provincial government, so working within the provincial government. So any of the clinicians are really regulated healthcare professionals that
Okay.
work under the Personal Health Information Act and that, collect, disclose, use personal health information. So when I say clinicians, I'm talking about social workers, clinical psychologists, doctors, psychiatrists, even occupational therapists, for instance, and registered therapists, counseling therapists are all considered clinicians, and they all most of them have the power to make these decisions around information sharing with families and caregivers. So it would definitely impact your teams out in the field if you were working with those regulated healthcare professionals, for sure. And I do think that as we work to change the culture and make this a broader change, I believe it will impact anyone that's in those situations where you're interacting with people in a crisis and their families. I do believe it's going to extend to everyone. But when I say clinicians, I mean regulated healthcare professionals.
Okay, and maybe I could ask Rachel to comment. Does it include our care team? Is our care team able to provide information to families with this legislative change, or it can only be done through regulated health professions?
We would have our own privacy. Chair O'Malley, we would have our own privacy legislation and practices within care. And so I would say I would need to check to see if this change in legislation will lead us to change those. I do believe the legislation wasn't particularly targeted at the registered professionals, but I can explore that further.
And so just to clarify as well, for sworn members, they're not included in that definition as well, are they?
Sorry, who?
The members of HRP and the members of HRD. Would an officer in the field who thinks a family member should become informed, that's not, do they have the ability to do that, or does it have to go through a regulated health professional?
I believe the answer to that question really lies in the definition of custodian. So underneath the Personal Health Information Act, custodian has quite a lot of people can be a custodian, including someone that is working with the province in like a collaborative way. So I do believe that in a situation where a police person is acting as a custodian, then that information sharing would apply to them. So I think that's more the question is, do you have police officers and other people working in those outreach programs that are actually acting as custodians in partnership with the province? And then it's absolutely, they would be making those decisions.
Thank you. It sounds like there's some little further research to figure out if we can be embracing it more and understanding what the limits are of that information exchange that could occur. Commissioner Moore, did you have anything you want to share?
Just going back from a previous thing, I believe that the police officers and the mobile mental health crisis team would be subject to that because they're working in collaboration with mental health professionals in over Nova Scotia Health. So there would be some regulation there.
I think so.
Any other questions, comments from the commissioners? No? Thank you very much, Nancy. It
Thank you
was
very
Very
much.
informative. All right, we'll move on to item number, I don't see that there's any items being brought forward, item number 9. So we'll move on to item 10, reports and discussions. And I think we're going to start with 10.2 first, because I understand Executive Director Bohm is about to go celebrate a big day for her daughter's graduation. So we wanted to
That's
wish you
great.
congratulations. And we,
Yeah. I'm responsible for expanding the ranks of social workers, of master's social workers. So very
That's awesome.
proud mom.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You and your family must be immensely proud.
Yeah.
So would you like to update us on your on activities within the Department of Community Safety?
Thank you. I would like to focus my report on the care team today. We have completed the phase 1 developmental evaluation of the crisis assistance response, and that's the definition behind the acronym CARE, which looks at the period from October to the end of January. So in total, 149 calls were analyzed for the phase 1 evaluation, and several patterns emerged in the data, including calls most commonly come from the person in crisis, about 40%. So half of the calls come from someone who's experiencing the crisis themselves. And then about 1/8 of the calls come from each of the following categories: agency referral, or friends, family, or neighbor, or members of the public. The 2 most common call types for care currently are mental health crisis, 45%, and well-being check, 22%. Approximately half of all intake calls, so calls to 211 for care, result in a dispatch. And just to give some context to that, the ones that aren't dispatched are resolved over the phone. So someone might be calling for a particular type of support or a referral to an agency that can be done over the phone. 20% of intake calls and 34% of the dispatches result in referrals to other services. And these 2 stats are very encouraging. Very few calls resulted in escalation to 911, so 3%.
Wow.
So it shows that the service is, there are sometimes expressed to me concern about, are we putting people in harm's way? But the screening of calls by 211 for the level of risk seems to be working well. Only 4% of the calls resulted in escalation to police or EHS. So 3% to 911 and 4% to escalation to police or EHS. Since the integration with police and IES, and since the change in boundary, which all happened in this current year, calendar year, we've seen an upward trend in call volume, so it's very encouraging. In fact, we had more calls in April and May than we had in the whole period from October to January. Despite more calls, only 7 in those months resulted in redirects to law enforcement. And I'll have a better analysis of our latest quarterly data at our next meeting. But it's certainly very encouraging that the numbers are on an upward trajectory, and we certainly have lots of capacity still. So we want those numbers to continue to increase. We have done some exploration in regards to some concern over our low numbers initially with other jurisdictions who've launched these sorts of teams, and it is fairly normalized for that to take time for people to be aware of such a service and for numbers to start out very low and then gradually increase. So priorities coming out of the phase 1 evaluation, really learnings that we need to continue to work on targeted communication about care, that the broader general widespread communication, doesn't seem to be as effective as targeted. So things like going out to doing open houses, the bus shelter campaign, for instance, was more effective. And I think probably contributes to the high number of people calling for themselves. They were very visible. I look at opportunity with only an eighth of the current calls coming from service providers. I see a huge opportunity to grow the numbers of dispatch just by working with our service provider population so that they know that they can refer clients to care. And to continue to focus on, closer integration with police, IES, mental health, mobile crisis, and other emergency service providers will definitely continue to increase our calls. And it's already, like I said, it's already been showing a significant boost to our outcomes. So that is my report for this month. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Executive Director. Any questions for Commissioner Mancini? Would you like to start?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Rachel. First of all, congratulations to your family, your daughter. Exciting times for all of us that are parents. That's very exciting. Does that mean she's off the
Payroll?
payroll, or is that? Hopefully so. Good luck with that.
She is.
Yeah, awesome. Great stuff as always. It's interesting, this job that we have. When we make decisions, we hope we make the right decisions, and we do things and we create things that get results. And it looks like we're getting results. So I'm so proud of the programs to date. Do you have any data on calls that came in since we started operation in October that were outside of the care geography? And did we collect any of that data?
Yes, we do collect the data for out of boundary calls. I don't have it with me today.
Yep.
I'm thinking likely in the fall we could do a more fulsome
Perfect.
presentation on the data.
Yep.
And the reason we're tracking it is in the event that we would say numbers still don't increase to the extent that we're at full capacity.
Right.
And we wouldn't want to wait a few months, but and we would see the numbers stagnate. We may want to increase the geographical boundaries again. It is a pilot, so it's, we're learning as we go. Then if we're tracking the out of boundary calls, we can see which areas to target if we're going to increase the boundaries, as well as learnings for when the pilot would eventually expand.
So the data being collected so we can make those right decisions. Perfect. So 141 calls. I don't want to assume, but does that mean that if we didn't have the care team, that would have been 141 calls, and most likely police would have been the agency that would respond?
I think we can say the police, EHS, 911, mental health, mobile crisis may have been consulted, or someone may have not called.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Because in the past, there's kind of this boundary of, what meets the definition of a mental health crisis for the mobile health mental crisis team, which offers a great service, but they have a specific mandate, whereas the care team looks at distress. So it's there's definitely no exclusions.
Can you remind me again of the funding model? How is Care Team funded again?
We are funded in the annual budget of the HRM
Yeah.
as a pilot for 2 years.
You know, no conversation with the province on their contribution to this. I mean, I know their state, or I know our state, but my goodness, I mean, this is an area that's so important, and it helps them too, right? I would think for mental. So maybe that's a discussion offline we can have and work on the political side. Last question I have, Mr. Chair, do we have any calls coming from the schools? Like, junior high, high school, are we getting calls from them to the Care Team? Are they even aware? Is that even a target group is that an agency we consider?
It is 16 and older, so it would still be available for some individuals in high school. I don't know if we've done any targeted communication to them, but that's a suggestion I can share with the
Yeah, I
team.
think so. I mean, there's an opportunity. We hear about the challenges in the school systems, and so I think that's an opportunity, maybe some education with that. And I'm happy to assist with that offline too. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hitch, did you have a question?
Hey, Rachel. And congratulations to your graduate this year. So, my question is, between April and May, is that because you guys expanded over to the north end, or that those numbers have gone up?
Through the chair to commissioner, definitely the geographical boundary change was a help,
Yeah.
but it is hard to know because we also around the same time integrated with police
Okay.
and IES.
Right.
Both things are boosting the numbers for sure, and both have huge potential.
Okay. I just want to say thank you to coming out to my town hall the other night. So you guys were amazing, and I look forward to continue to do more with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, just to ask, how are the call handling protocols that you've established with IES working? Is that meeting your requirements?
The evaluation looked at that, and the program is being evaluated as planned, and no major issues came up or gaps in terms of policies or procedures. The main recommendation around that was just further integration with police, IES, and mobile crisis to make sure like we're all clear on, which call is best for which group.
And how would you characterize the awareness amongst those groups, HRP, HRD/IES? Are the members and the first responders out there becoming much more aware of the program and how to embrace it
Well, we're
engage?
seeing an uptick in the data for those groups. So, but I think it'll take a sustained effort because they are 24/7 workforces. So you have a large number of people. You have a lot of new recruits entering and people leaving. So it's just something we won't be able to rest on our laurels. We'll have to constantly be sure that people get oriented to care when they start positions or they're taking over a mat leave or whatever, that information gets transferred.
And a lot of those groups do have their own learning management systems. So potentially you could, create some videos of the program and make them available to like IES. I know gets trained that way. And, there's tools there to take advantage of those things. Just one last question. How many calls can the Care Team handle at one time? So not the actual call intake, but the actual responding to a call.
It's estimated that it takes, I think the average dispatch is 10 or 15 minutes. And you have 2 teams of 2 on at all 24/7. So, and then about half the calls are looked after over the phone. So we have lots of capacity yet. We're not nearly at capacity, and we should ideally be able to take, easily more than 20 calls a day. Yeah. And what we hope to do is be, looking at the data to see where are the high volume call times of the day, because we could potentially over time shift resources. So if there's a very low number of calls coming in between, say, midnight and 4 a.m. or 6 a.m., then maybe you have one team on overnight. Those are things we haven't been in long enough to know or to learn from the data yet.
And will the protocol always be 2 responders? So you wouldn't separate those individuals for safety reasons? Yeah, very good. Commissioner Akindoja.
Thank you very much. As you continue to have very good imprint in what you're doing in the community, I want to talk about capacity gaps. What kind of capacity gaps do you anticipate, or are you experiencing at this time? For example, human capital or other resources. And the second question will be: your budget falls under bills, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second.
Your annual budget falls under bills budget. Am I right?
The budget for care falls under community safety, so it'd be presented as part of community safety's budget to council each fall. And then my portfolio sits under the public safety, the Commissioner of Public Safety, along with police and fire.
So we will not be looking at your budget as a board, as a board?
No.
Okay, thank you. So talking about your capacities, probably.
Capacity, I guess capacity issues, we do not deliver the service ourselves. So we have service level agreements with our dispatch organization, which is 211, and with our mobile service provider who does the dispatched calls. It is challenging number of positions to keep filled constantly. So I would say there are human resource and ongoing recruitment challenges just to make sure you have the full roster of positions and backfill for sick calls. It's a 24/7 service. Our mobile service provider is in place until this fall. There is a current RFP, so that could be that could shift in the fall, or it could stay the same depending on the outcome of that process. So whatever organization is doing the mobile service dispatch service, I would say we have learned through the first number of months that it is a challenge, and it involves a constant recruitment effort. It's a similar role that many shelters and other similar housing organizations would use. So we're competing with that kind of professional in the workforce. And we certainly haven't had major gaps in our service because of recruitment issues, but I know the organization has prioritized it and worked really hard to keep a full team on constantly.
Thank you.
Commissioner Moore?
Just out of interest, because I know the commission had a presentation on transit safety. I had a conversation with the executive director of transit. So their mobile supervisors are learning about care as well. So we're laterally expanding out to other areas of the HRM as well, just to add that in to kind of start to tie the pieces together, because obviously they're experiencing a lot of the issues on the buses that we're experiencing in the community. So.
Yeah, bus shelter issues are a frequent concern in the city. So again, that's something we've shared with transit. If there's someone in a bus shelter using substances, preventing other people from using the shelter or sleeping in a shelter, they can call CARE now instead of police. So and we can help get the person to a different location.
All right. Seeing no other comments or questions, thank you very much, Rachel. And again, congratulations to you and your family. All right, we'll start off with Chief Superintendent Duff. Your name was first on my list. So. Actually, we'll change that around. Chief McLean will start. Thank you, Chief McLean.
We'll do that because, always want to save the best for last. So, good afternoon, everyone. Chair O'Malley, members of the board, everyone who's joining us today. Before we start, I know she's left, but also I want to acknowledge and thank Nancy Saunders for certainly for her presentation, but more for the work that she do. And I know that's it's difficult but very timely work. So I just want to thank her for that. I do want to introduce the guest I have today with me. You would have remembered at our last meeting, I had Deputy Chief Asif Rashid with me from the Calgary Police Service. But so today, as part of the Canadian Chiefs of Police Executive Mentorship Program, I have Superintendent Frank Dell from the Ottawa Police. He's joining me today, spending the week in Halifax. He's the officer in charge of their HR department. I just want to note that he does have to step out at 2:00 to deal with some HR stuff back in Ottawa. So if you see him leave, it's not because you're chasing him off, but he actually has some work to do. So it's been a pleasure having Frank here with me and for the week with my colleagues and certainly, this program is about executive mentorship. Really, it's about, the ability to share our personal experiences and have conversations and continue that going forward into the future. So welcome to Halifax, Frank, and, look forward to our continued relationship. I normally also start off, about things that have occurred but this week, I think I want to start off that, from an EFAP perspective, and you would have got some communications that, since our last meeting, we lost a former HRP police officer. Our thoughts and condolences are with their loved ones and their colleagues. And it has been it's been a challenging few weeks for first responders. There's no doubt about it. As you well know, and I'll speak about it later, our members responded to a very tragic incident in the last month in relation to an infant, and that tragedy has hit hard in the community, and it's hit hard on the first responder community and our services, in general. But I do want to reiterate, which I've done, and I'll continue to do that. We have a very strong employee family assistance program, and that I always promote and encourage. And they're there to listen, they're there to help and provide employees with the individualized support that they may need. And I want all of our membership to know that it's okay to ask for help. And I had the distinct pleasure there was a debrief held this weekend on Sunday, and I had the pleasure of actually opening that for some of whom were directly involved. And I think, and I thank them for showing up, because really it takes courage to do so. So I want to start off the meeting with that, because I think it emphasizes its importance. From a policy perspective, and on the topic of wellness and assistance, policy updates, our new employee wellness and reintegration policy was posted to our website this week, recently, and this policy covers all the HRP programs for employee wellness support, and some of which have not been previously outlined in policy. From a recruitment perspective, as I mentioned at our last meeting, the cadets began their on-the-job training and are on the streets right now with their field training officers. And the graduation ceremony, and I'll reiterate, is on Thursday, July 16th. It'll be held at Pier 21, and obviously board members can be expecting their invitations shortly. And this particular year, the graduation will be held earlier in the day rather than the evening, in terms to help to accommodate some folks. So you'll be getting your invitation soon. I also want to note that there's significant work underway preparing for our next police science program, and we are currently in the interview phase and getting some great candidates. So from a major files and investigations perspective, on May 12th, members of our Integrated Child Exploitation Unit executed a search warrant at a residence in Halifax, seizing electronic devices and a firearm. And a 56-year-old man faces numerous charges around possession of child sexual abuse material, accessing child abuse material, firearms offenses. And so it was good work by those members of ICE. On the 17th of May, we responded to 2 separate incidents involving women who became ill and showed signs of impairment after reportedly consuming small amounts of alcohol. Police are investigating whether those drinks have been tampered with. There was media on that's been disseminated, and at this stage in the investigation, there's no evidence to suggest they are related in any way. But always remind people about their own safety issues around not leaving drinks unattended, and encouraging bar staff, patrons, and friends to be on the lookout for one another. That investigation is ongoing. On the 23rd of May, we responded to the 6500 block of Bears Road in Halifax for a reported stabbing. Officers located and arrested the suspect of the incident. They had been known to one another. A 40-year-old woman appeared in provincial court facing charges of attempted murder and possession of weapons and threats. And certainly, most prominent file on the 22nd of May, we were notified that a 23-year-old woman had attended the hospital in very critical condition who appeared to just given birth. Her baby was not with her, prompting an urgent search for the newborn. Sadly, remains of an infant were located on Sunday, May 24th, in a wooded area in Goodwood. And on the 27th of May, also the mother passed away. Obviously, this is a very tragic incident. The Nova Scotia medical examiners will be heavily involved in determining cause and manner of death of both the infant and the mother. Due to the complexities of this incident, it may take an extended period to examine and determine the results, but we certainly extend our condolences to everyone involved and to the greater community. Charges were laid at the time for 2 adults, and the investigation is ongoing. And I just want to note as well, on the 26th of May, on a Tuesday, there was an incident at McDonald's in Bedford involving a group with an airsoft gun. While the incident was not reported to the police at the time, there was Facebook and social media activity that got our involvement, and working closely with our school resource officer, we identified the youth involved, and a 15-year-old's been charged with numerous complaints, with numerous charges. I mention this because there's been an increase in the use of BB type guns and imitation firearms in the last little bit. That has caused significant concern, certainly for our investigators. And while we know these weapons can closely resemble real firearms, they present a real potential for tragedy in terms of in the community. And they can promote a significant police response. The reality is, they look like real guns. The impact is significant. So we will become, you can expect media in the next few days in relation to this, in the campaign about both the dangers associated to that in terms of the use of these firearms, certainly in public places. And then finally, in the early morning hours of the 31st of May, we received a report of a man driving an SUV that hit the side view mirror of another vehicle, drove away. The quick response of our officers in stopping that vehicle led to the arrest of a driver, and while searching the vehicle, a loaded handgun. A 25-year-old man faces charges in relation to the accident and the firearm. So really good work by the patrol and responding officers in that effect. Leading into firearms, we've had zero homicides related to firearms this year. There have been 10 shooting incidents over in the HRP area, with 389 firearms seized. From a traffic perspective, I can tell you that the ongoing traffic points in the city remain across the divisions, which I'm very happy to see in terms from our patrol division in terms of doing their traffic point stops. For the month of May, 943 summary events tickets had been issued. There were 27 charges laid for impaired operation of a motor vehicle, 15 suspensions issued. And the theme this month in June is on distracted driving. So keeping motorists reminded to keep their eyes on the road and their hands on the wheel, and always stay alert. From a domestic violence perspective, I know there was questions and some questions asked about our last meeting about the board and the increase. So from May 1st to the 29th of 2026, we received 155 total reports of domestic violence, which was an increase of 8 reports over last month's 147. 155 this month, 147 last month. Charges were laid in 77 of these files for this month, which is so roughly half. And to date in 2026, we have received 792 reports of domestic violence. In the same reporting period year to date last year, from January to May, we received 708 reports of domestic violence, so a difference of 84 reports. Of those reports in May, 10 were designated as high risk, and 13 have been a critical development, 13 files, which mean a file originally designated high risk at a new incident trigger occur. And lastly, I just want to finish off from a community perspective. I had the pleasure on the 15th of attending Duke Danville Elementary School, along with the division CROs, community response overs, for a bike rally, a bike rodeo, educating the community on bike safety. The youngsters from from primary up to grade 6 in terms particularly targeted towards the new Canadian families who may not be as familiar with the rules of the road and biking. So it was great work by the officers who were there and taking them around really it was helping educate everyone bike safety and navigate the bike, and a wonderful opportunity to highlight police in a positive light within that communities. And it certainly was a pleasure for me to attend. There was also a second rodeo that was held at the other school up in Clayton Park. I was away at the National Police Services meeting at the same time, but again, it would have been the same outcome. So my thanks to everyone involved in that, and pending any questions, or turn it over to Chief Superintendent Duff for his report.
Maybe we'll hold the questions until after Chief Superintendent Duff's comments.
Well, thank you very much, Chair and Commissioners. I'm going to start out with the some statistics similar to presented at last meeting. So the period covered in some of this is April 25th to May 21st, just based on the lag time in us to have the accurate data. So we compared it to the same period in years previous. Total calls for service in this period of time were 5,689, which was an increase of 527 from 2025. And the total proactive activities within this period of time were 2,202, a slight decrease of 45 from 2025. In respect to IPV, these are specific to the month of May, had 137 complaints during the course of May, 32 which were deemed to be high risk. The IPV files were an increase of 24 from the same from April, and an increase of 1 in the high risk designation. Respect to traffic, 1,414 stops during this time period, so an increase of 515 from 2025, same period. The number of SOTs written were 806, which is an increase of 439 from the same period of last year. 100 warnings were issued. 250 speeding tickets. As I've mentioned in the past, a lot of our community engagement traffic is often one of the main points of conversation. So we're putting a fair bit of attention into that area. That's an increase of 169 from the same period last year. To note is with the elevation of our traffic enforcement, we saw 94 collisions during this time period, which is a decrease of 60 from the previous year. So I'm going to be interested to see if we continue on the same trend of our elevated proactive traffic enforcement and where we are. It could be an anomaly, but if we can draw certainly a strong correlation there, it would be beneficial. Impaired driving during the same period were 58, and that's an elevation of 4 from last year. So that's just a quick summary on the on the statistics of of interest, really. So some really good proactive work being done out there, and it's a focus that we report on daily during our watch reports, the proactive side, in addition to the responsive side. I'll cover off some of our higher profile files during the course of the month. I'll start out on May 7th in Cole Harbour. HRD responded to an assault where a man reported being in his home and confronted by a suspect known to him, believed to be armed with a firearm, and departed in a stolen Ford Edge. Due to quick response by the members in partnership with our HRP folks, we were able to locate the vehicle in Dartmouth, and ultimately resulted in the arrest of 2 individuals. No firearm was discovered, but both of the individuals were held in custody, and the stolen vehicle was recovered, so very positive. Sadly, on May 8th at 3:37 a.m. in the morning, officers received RCMP, EHS, and fire services responded to a single vehicle crash in the 1100 block of Austria Lake Road. A Honda Civic had crossed the center line, entered the ditch, and rolled. Unfortunately, a youth was deceased as a result of that. That's currently under investigation, continuing some of the technical data to determine the cause. On May the 9th, an RCMP officer conducting proactive patrols on Highway 102 near Goffs identified a vehicle where the license plate didn't match up with the vehicle, stopped the vehicle, ultimately resulted in addition to a number of highway traffic offenses resulted in the seizure of 1 million unstamped cigarettes. So the subject faces charges under the Excise Act, the Revenue Act, Criminal Code, and also there was some cannabis located within the vehicle. So good observation by the officer to see a vehicle and see that things weren't quite adding up. Now the next portion is going to talk about over a period of a relatively short period of time. A number of impaired drivers. Between May 16th and 18th, there was 3 impaired drivers in separate incidents located. And as a result of the action, some of the breathalyzer readings were, one was 2 samples of 90, one was 120 and 100, which is somewhat. The third person had a breathalyzer reading of 100 or 310 milligrams percent, which is just about 4 times over the legal limit, and certainly something that needs to be medically examined. So it was very fortunate to have those drivers off the road at that time. Then between May 18th and 19th, there was 3 further incidents, and we were, again, the members dealt with people who were, the breathalyzer readings were 230, 210 for one driver, so essentially 3 times the legal limit. 250 and 230. So these are very, very high readings for people operating a motor vehicle. The next one was 80 and 70, and they were driving a stolen vehicle as well. So over the course of those few days, there were 6 impaired drivers, and some of them with some significant blood alcohol levels, like significant. That's so good to get it off the road, get those people off the road. But I mean, it's a little concerning when you're seeing consistent readings at that level. On May 26th, HRD EHS fire responded to a single vehicle crash in the 2200 block of Beaverbank Road. Southbound BMW left the roadway, traveled through a ditch and over a culvert and became airborne, struck a power pole. 42-year-old driver and 40-year-old passenger were both transported to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The passenger had been unresponsive at the scene. Evidence suggested the driver may have been impaired and driving dangerously. Arrested, issued a blood demand, and a sample obtained for analysis. That is still under awaiting the analysis result. I also want to highlight, in conclusion, that MAD Canada and the RCMP hosted the 4th annual Heidi Stevenson Watch Awards, which recognizes members for their outstanding effort to remove impaired drivers from the province's roadways, waterways, and trails. The ceremony is held during National Police Week. Fortunately, HRD had 3 gold level winners, which mean over the course of the year, removed 24 or more impaired drivers from the road. So between these 3 officers, that's at least 72 between 3, so significant results. 1 silver award winner, which means 15 to 23, and 8 who were between 6 and 14 impaired drivers removed from the road. So some significant focus being put on impaired driving out there to keep our roads safe. And of course, we all know that in addition to alcohol, now we're dealing with the drug impaired drivers and basically preventing a lot of serious incidents on our roadways. So, barring any questions or points of clarity, that's my report for this month.
Thank you, Chief Superintendent. I'll open the floor up for questions. Commissioner Carter, did you want to have a question to start?
Yeah, thank you both, chiefs, for your reports. Also, I'd like to comment on your use of traffic stops and the crimes that are solved from that from both departments. It's working. It's solving more serious crimes by traffic stops. So I hope both of you keep that program going where there's more traffic stops. And I want to thank your members as well for all the work that they're doing, because we're getting more information, which is great, with respect from you're letting the media know about the various things that are going on, whether it's an active investigation that they need to be concerned with, or you're letting them know about more serious crimes that where arrests are made and so on. Those are public trust builders, and you've been doing an awful lot of that from both of you. So I appreciate that. The impaired drivers, I have a question on the impaired drivers for both of you, and it's just quickly. It seems that impaired driving seems to be on the rise with respect to more people being caught, which is a good thing. You're catching them, but the fact that it seems to be on the rise. Some people in here aren't old enough to remember the program in the 1980s of Safe Grad, but it was an education program through the Department of Justice. Is there any conversation between you guys and Department DOJ with respect to looking at something like that again? Because it actually did reduce the numbers. So.
Yeah, through the chair to the commissioner, I'm not aware of it being revisited, like the Safe Grad program itself.
Yeah.
I think a lot more onus now is falling to the individual schools and whatnot to, with parent groups to organize and ensure safety.
Yeah, so MAD, I know you guys work with MAD, and you also mentioned the Heidi Stevenson program. Those are efforts that may make a difference too. So appreciate you telling us that. The next one was, my next question was around the air guns, and just looking for clarifications what I'm looking for, because my understanding is, for example, the airsoft guns, the paintball guns, BB guns, but paintball and airsoft are popular sports. But my question is around, for clarification, it's simply about air guns in this Halifax Regional Municipality. I believe there's a law in the municipality that prohibits them or makes them illegal. Is that correct? Or I thought it was a municipal bylaw that covered that. But anyway, just looking for.
Turn it over to the lawyer. I can tell by the look on his face, he has the same response I do.
Green button.
Green button.
I got it. There we go. Took a second. New one on me. I'd have to check in that one. I'm not sure of that one.
Showing my age, maybe. But I'm pretty sure there is a municipal bylaw on that. And if there is, if we find out that there is one, and again, this is just clarification for understanding it, if there is, how does that apply to citizens that have them in their homes, not using them like the individuals were that you mentioned in your report? They were obviously using them, which was wrong. But if they're outside going to a paintball place or an airsoft place, just looking for clarification for the general public so they'll understand, are they allowed to have them in their house, and how would they transport them outside of the municipality to one of those locations? So anyway, if you don't know the answers now, maybe we can find out later.
But what I would say to that, to the commissioner is, again, this isn't about, I'm not necessarily, like they sell them. I can't imagine there's actually a law against, because they actually sell them in places within HRM, like in terms of, this is not about the possession of them. This is about the use of them.
Right.
Like we're talking about, going in public places and pulling them out on people and that sort of stuff. That's what creates, challenges. And that's what we kind of wanted. This isn't about, you can't have them or you can't,
Right.
This is about, I would say the sound use of these type of things, and, not to be used in, at McDonald's, for instance, or in the mall. I saw one where someone got pulled out of,
Or shooting
pulled
at
some
cars
people.
driving by.
Yeah, or something like that, those type of things, which can cause, obviously, the potential is, it could be extremely tragic, but even for those people that are there, that the impact on them in terms of they believe, the unfortunate reality is we live in a time now where, these type of things take place in the world, like in terms, like, where at one point there may have been an anomaly of this, with that, like people think the worst now when they see these type of things. And in terms of, so it's just about, it's about responsible use of these type of things, not about banning them. It's about its responsible use.
So appreciate that, because people that may be watching online and people that talk to us in the public may not understand. So what you've just
Yeah,
explained.
no, so we will, like I said, we will be coming out in the next few days with some communications on that.
Yeah.
And about, explaining some of the things and some of the things that we've seized over, that type of thing. I'm not exactly sure what it will look like in terms of, But a part of it is just around education of folks, just, to be safe, like in terms of you put your own self in jeopardy in terms of these particular things and that nobody wants.
Right.
Right.
So I totally understand
Yeah.
that the use of them
Yeah.
that you're dealt with was totally wrong,
Mm.
and therefore they were properly dealt with. One last piece on that is just for clarification again for the public that may be watching and the people that we talk to is do the federal government laws around replicas, can they be used to deal with someone who's doing that, shooting at a car going by, shooting at an airsoft with them? Because it is very dangerous. The person could lose control of their car or whatever. And so,
Well, the laws that apply in terms, the use of, weaponry in terms of like weapons offenses in terms of manner. Again, it's not about it's the manner in which they use. So there are, I don't believe there's a necessity of looking for new laws.
Right.
What we're looking for is, you want compliance with what already exists in terms of, responsible use.
agree totally.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks very much, Chief.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. We do have a little bit of clarity on the municipal law, if our legal counsel.
Sure. So just in terms of what we were able to quickly find, bylaw P100 that is HRM does quote, and I'll quote from it, it says, while in any park, no person shall be in possession of or use any firearm, air gun, bow and arrow, axe, or offensive weapon of any kind except by permission. It starts off while in any park.
But part of that whole responsible use part in terms of, yeah.
Thank you. Any other commissioners have questions for the chiefs? Commissioner Akindoju.
This is not a question. It's just to say thank you again, because over the number of years, we've had a bit of increase and continued increase in crime. And it's not that you're not doing your job. It's just that situations are changing, and it's hard to now say that how do we police this or change this. But to talk about impairment, it's worrisome because it affects everybody. So just for clarity, some of these impairments, or the ones that you mentioned, were they arrested at night or during the day? Is this occurring during the day or more at night? That's question number one. And the question number two would be, if and when they are cleared of the impairment, what kind of questions do you ask these individuals to help further deter or provide a bit of knowledge on deterring this? For example, if they're coming from home, or they're coming from clubs or hotels, so that if we start to not penalize the impaired alone and start to re-emphasize the penalty on the clubs or restaurants, maybe from that point of view, I mean, I said home because we can't do anything from anybody coming from home, but if they're coming from clubs or restaurants and we start to arrest those restaurants because they have, under the duty of care, that duty to stop that person from drinking excessively. I don't know, just for us to have a conversation. It's not a question or answer, but if it worries everybody, it worries us as well. Thank you.
To the commission, I would say to your first part, I would say, well, I don't have the statistical analysis in front of me. I can tell you from reading Watch Commander reports over years in terms, the majority of impaired driving offenses occur during the night hours. They occur during, the night shift reports in terms of which they occur just for probably a whole bunch of reasons we can probably figure out on our own. Not to say none of them happen during the day, because they do, but I would say a greater percentage occur during evening hours. I would suggest it's probably the same for.
Yeah, definitely. You get the odd one at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But majority wise, that's why we pay attention usually in the evening hours.
At least that gives us a bit of rest of mind because you have less cars around on the street at that time. But to the second question, how do you, query these individuals after they are less impaired to find out, is this a behavior? Is it driven by something? And thirdly, is it somewhere that we can nip the source as well? Talking about restaurants and all that stuff, or wherever they're coming from.
I think there's always an opportunity to improve public awareness and responsibility and to get the, to get the knowledge out there that there is duty for care to some degree. However, generally it's a choice made. I mean, there's limits respecting over service and whatnot. We find a lot of these people are coming from, we're encountering a lot in the more rural areas too that are not coming from establishments, but various residences and that type of thing. So there's a wide spectrum, but any chance to improve the public knowledge, the business knowledge of it, their role in preventing this is positive, and very good point. The opportunity exists for our messaging in that respect. So thank you.
Commissioner Hinch.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you both for all that you guys do, because since me being on this board and in council and whatnot, I'm learning more and more each and every day and understanding what you guys go through. When you were talking about the stolen vehicle and they were impaired at the same time, were they minors or were they of age? Do we know that? They're both adults. Okay. Well, we can't blame it on the parents. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right, seeing no other questions, thank you, Chiefs. And Chief McLean, please accept our deepest condolences for your entire HRP member families on the loss of one of your previous officers. All right, we'll move on to items 10.3. In particular, 10.3.1, HRM Police Future Use of Force Reporting, Race-Based Data. And we have a presentation by Joanne Smith, Research Coordinator with HRP. You have the floor when you're ready.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name is Joanne Smith. I'm the HRP Research and Development Coordinator. Is this working okay, Andrea? There we go. And I'm also the project manager for our race-based data, our joint HRP-HRD race-based data collection initiative. So the intention of today's presentation is to present to you on the future approach to including race-based data in use of force reporting. And that came as a result of the motion that was passed back in March of this year when the board formally adopted its policy on use of force. So this presentation results from point 2, which was a request for the Chief of HRP and the Chief Superintendent of HRD to present to the board on their approach to include race-based data in future use of force reporting. Because we have a broader race-based data collection initiative ongoing, it was considered more appropriate to give a broad overview of that initiative and as contextual information for where the reporting in use of force incidents fits overall. So use of force incidents are in scope for that initiative, which relates to recommendation 3.2 of the Wortley report. So just to give a refresher on the timeline and background around that, In March 2019 is when the Wortley report was released. It included 53 recommendations, which included recommendation 3.2, recommending the collection of data by provincial police agencies on civilian stops. And when it talks about the collection of data, that included multiple variables, including race data. In September 2020, the Provincial Wortley Report Research Committee was formed, and that committee later commissioned Dr. Timothy Bryan to examine recommendation 3.2. In September 2022, Dr. Bryan's report was released and all recommendations were accepted by the provincial government. That included a recommendation that race-based data collection be mandated for all provincial policing agencies. In April 2023, the provincial committee established a subcommittee to look specifically at the technical components around how race-based data could be collected within the policing agencies across Nova Scotia. So the 3 provincial record management systems, the RMSs, so for HRM, that's Versadex, for Cape Breton, Niche, and for the rest of Nova Scotia with RCMP and other municipal agencies, that would be PROS. In March 2024, that subcommittee then submitted a report to the provincial government with its recommendations. Later that year, in November, we established a joint HRP-HRD working group, which was very small at the time, to look specifically at the technical possibilities of how we would capture data on police stops in our municipal policing system. So Versadex, but also our CAD system, computer-aided dispatch. So that working group was initially just formed really of IT folks and project group. So it was looking just at how that would be captured within the technical systems. In June 2025, having finished that initial piece of work, we expanded it to other key roles. Before I talk more about that group, I'll just mention the race-based data collection initiatives that are ongoing that affect Nova Scotia. So there are several ongoing across the country, but the 3 that affect this province, we'll start off with the one at the top is the one that I've just discussed the background to, so the Provincial Wortley Report Initiative. All of these 3 initiatives are similar, but they are different in scope and in data collection method. So for the initiative we're looking at, it's to collect data on police stops. And police stops is defined in the Dr. Bryan report as police-initiated traffic stops, police-initiated pedestrian stops, arrests, and use of force. And the data for that would be collected within Versadex and CAD. Secondly, on there, we have a national initiative which is led by the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, the CACP, and also Statistics Canada, specifically the CCJ CSS division, which is Canadian Centre for Justice and Community Safety Statistics. So that is referred to as the PIRID initiative, Police Reported Indigenous and Racialised Identity Data. That is that Statistics Canada already collect data on criminal incidents through the Uniform Crime Reporting Survey, which police agencies are mandated to complete on an annual basis, and the CCJ CSS release the results also on an annual basis. So what they will be doing is expanding that survey to include race-based data variables. So that is to come. A special purpose committee was set up by those 2 agencies a couple of years ago. And last year, in summer 2025, there was a significant amount of guidance released by that committee. So it included operational guidance, an analytical framework, and also a training module. None of it is intended to be copy-paste by agencies. It's intended as a guiding framework that is, I've read it all. There's a substantial amount of material, but it's going to be extremely useful to us in implementing the provincial initiative locally in HRM. And the third initiative is an RCMP initiative led by what's referred to as ARIDIS, Anti-Racism, Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Secretariat. So the RCMP initiative is going to collect data on use of force, arrests and wellbeing checks. So as you can see, it has the two data points which are the same as for the provincial initiative, use of force and arrests, and also wellbeing checks. The initiative is currently in the pilot stage and is about to expand to 36 detachments across the country. And they'll be collecting data by means of a text template that's included within the attached to the record in the RMSs. So we have good connections with both Statistics Canada and with ARIDIS. Myself for Statistics Canada and Inspector Neil Wenzel from HRD with ARIDIS, and they are the manager from ARIDIS also attends our meetings so that we are closely aligned on what's happening with each other's initiatives. So the approach that we are taking is to ensure that as far as possible we are aligned with those two other initiatives, recognizing that they will both impact our agencies. We'll be informed by the guidance material that has been released by Period and also the training and project material that's been developed by ARIDIS. One of the key decisions that has been made so far in our work is by Chief McLean and Chief Superintendent for HRD, which is that we will be updating the race categories within Versadex to the categories which are being used by Statistics Canada in Period. There's not going to be a huge change there to the actual titles of those categories, but they will make them completely aligned. One of the something that's been mentioned multiple times historically on a national basis is that the absence of consistent and comparable data can be a real issue. So this will ensure that it's comparable with other surveys that measure social determinants of justice, such as housing, employment, income. They are all going to be measuring it on this using the same race-based data categories. The direction from Chief McLean and Chief Superintendent Duff has been very clear that this is to be a joint initiative. Community engagements will be joint, training will be delivered to a joint HRP-HRD audience by HRP and HRD instructors. And our communications, while they may not be mirrored, will be as closely aligned as possible. And we will work to ensure that when race-based data is provided externally in the future, that it is accompanied by appropriate contextual information. So data alone does not deliver definitive conclusions or tell a story on its own. It always has to have that appropriate contextual information with it. In the analytical framework that's provided by Period, it's all about how data users have a responsibility to use data ethically and responsibly, and there's a huge amount of guidance and information in there. So this is really just to show you where, bringing it back to the original motion, where use of force fits in here. So at the very beginning, when we were looking at the how we would capture the different types of police stops within our systems, we took each type of police stop, so traffic stops, pedestrian stops, use of force and arrests, and looked at the different outcomes for each of them. So for example, traffic stops, you could end up in an arrest or charge, a summary offence ticket or no action. So for each of those three, we worked through them and established how how we were going to collect the data for them. And it became very clear that they were falling into two categories. So the first category, because we already have race-based data categories in Versadex, the data is already collected, and it will just be a case of updating the categories. So we don't need to implement any technical changes or any business process changes. And then we have the second category, which are police stops, which do not result in a charge, which means that in order to collect the data, we either have to implement a technical change or a business process change or both. So again, because this isn't a presentation on the broader initiative and want to focus just on the use of force element, use of force falls into this category just because at the moment the use of force data is collected outside of the report that's created within Versadex. So for HRP, we use the Provincial Subject Behaviour Officer Response, SBOR form, which is a provincial form. And for HRD, they use the RCMP Use of Force reporting portal, which is used by all RCMP members across the country. So those two mechanisms for reporting do not currently have race-based data categories in them. That will come in the future because so for the province, myself and the project lead for HRP, Inspector Amit Parasram, we've been in touch with the province and they are certainly open to working with us along aligning timelines for the changes. And Inspector Wenzel has been in touch with the use of force leads for RCMP, and it's a similar approach to them. Am I accurate in saying that? So when those changes happen, we'll be collecting race-based data directly through the use of force reporting mechanism. In the meantime, each time the use of force incident is reported using either the SBOR form or the RCMP portal, it's attached to the general occurrence report, the GO report that's in Versadex. So you have two things. You have the GO report and the use of force report. So we can put those together and match them up in order to obtain the race-based data for that. So that will be the business process change that we use in the meantime for when we do come to do the first use of force report for the board. This chart is just to give you an idea of how many people are involved in this work. We have about 25, bearing in mind that it's from 2 agencies. So from HRP, it's Inspector Parasram as the project lead, myself as the project manager, and Inspector Wenzel from HRD, who's recently taken over from Jeff Mitchell and is doing an admirable job in getting up to speed on this initiative. And then we have roles representing training, communications, diversity and inclusion, community relations, policy, data analysis, and IT, all necessary roles for designing and delivering this initiative. We're treating this as a way of testing how we can do joint projects and initiatives in the future as well. So we've set up a SharePoint site. First time it's been established as an information sharing mechanism and collaboration platform for us. So that's we have had some teething issues with the site, but overall it's working well as a good approach and believe it can be used in the future. So our current focus is the development of training and communications in this area. The constraints and considerations that we come up against are organisational capacity, schedules and competing priorities, which have to be considered, of course, for both agencies, any technical limitations of the CAD and RMS systems, the sensitivity of the subject matter and public trust considerations really are paramount, and that's why we are taking this carefully, intentionally, and working to consider all elements with a good degree of attention. Legislative and policy requirements governing police data collection. Our dependencies include system readiness, timely stakeholder input, and ensuring that we align with provincial and federal partners. So again, to bring it back to the originating motion that was looking specifically at how we report race-based data in our annual use of force reporting to the board in the future, it is currently available for use of force incidents using the existing race categories in Versadex. We just have to do a little bit of work which involves HRMIT as well in order to gather that, but it is available to be reported in the future. Use of force incidents are in scope for the broader initiative, and that initiative will deliver updated race categories, joint training and community engagements, and coordinated communications, as well as solutions for the types of police stops that are not current, that we do not currently collect data on. And then race-based data will be included in annual use of force reports to the board with appropriate contextual and supporting information. I would also mention that with regard to the broader race-based data collection initiative, it is fully our intention to update the board as at a point in the future when we have reached a stage where it would be appropriate to do so. Thank you again for your time, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, commissioners. I have a question, I guess, related to, and I don't know, I'm just kind of curious if it has a bearing on this, and that is that I understood when we had a presentation on the collection of use of force data, that there was a substantial difference between the number of HRP use of force incidents versus HRD, and it related to the definition of a use of force incident when it needed to be documented. So I understood that there was much more HRP incidents and fewer HRD because that was the regulation. Will that have an impact on data collection quality and analysis and interpretation going forward?
Yeah, if we reconcile that difference, because it's to do with the soft use of force where there's no injury, where there's injuries or no injuries. So if there's a large volume of incidents for HRP, then until we have the form updated, yes, it will, because we'll have to go through and see which ones match, which ones have to be included and which don't, and that would need the reports themselves to be read.
Are we looking at aligning those two in the future so that the definitions and the data collection is aligned?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Joanne.
Thank you.
Uh, 10.3.2 Halifax Regional Police Body Worn Camera Digital Evidence Management System presentation. Thank you. We have speaker, oh my goodness.
So just before we start there, I'd like to introduce everyone to Henry Bulagurthu. So Henry is, or Pramud is actually, like, that's his real name, but everyone calls him Henry. So Henry is our new DEM supervisor.
Awesome.
He just would have started with us 2 months ago, a month ago?
Yeah, it's been 2 months.
2 months. So
Yeah.
comes to us from Oak West and has experience in the body worn world. And usually Superintendent Robertson, who runs this program in terms, but he's actually in Cape Breton at the Atlantic Chiefs right now. But actually, Henry told me he was excited to get before the board. So it's all yours, Henry.
Thank you.
Why is it done yet, Henry?
We'll get there soon.
The floor is yours, Henry.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board. Thank you for having me. My name is Henry Pulagurta. I'm the supervisor for Digital Evidence Management Unit. It's been 2 months I've joined HRP. Oh.
that you wanted to share on the screen? Ah, there we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's been 2 months I've joined HRP. Prior to this, I worked for a company similar to Axon for body cameras and in-car cameras for agencies like California Highway Patrol, Chicago State Police. I'm super happy to be part of this project. A bit of background. The funding has been approved for HRP to implement digital evidence management, body-worn camera, and in-car camera. Altogether, these 3 projects would support evidence capture, storage, and disclosures through cloud. So the budget was also approved for 9 DEMS clerks. The positions will be posted soon, probably tomorrow. So we'll initiate the hiring as well. The supervisor position has already been filled. The contract with Axon was signed on March 31st of 2026. So this project is now led by full-time HRP DEM supervisor and HRM IT project manager, along with other supporting key roles like app admin, business analyst, function analyst. So right now, we are in the initial phase of DEMS cloud platform readiness, like configuration, user profiles, permissions, and creating command hierarchy for HRP. The in-car cameras hardware has been shipped to headquarters. So they plan for having them installed by July 20th. It's going to take 5 weeks. The vendor's going to be here, and then they have the installation done in 5 weeks with a frequency of 25 cars per week. We are working on capturing the workflows and also creating training documents on things like redaction rules, evidence review, disclosure processes for ensuring consistency and accuracy. So this is a large and complex project involving IT, procurement, privacy risk, and it requires detailed analysis, coordination, and careful mapping. So we're closely monitoring agencies like RCMP to understand their workflows, policies. And we're also assessing their lessons learned, the mistakes what I've done before, so that we won't be having the same mistakes from our end while we implement this project. On the policy side, we have our framework ready. However, we are intentionally not rushing because we were trying to understand the full workflows and also the technology. There's a significant research involved, including learning from other agencies who have already body-worn cameras and in-car cameras implemented, just to make sure we have the same approach. On the transparency side, we'll be having all the information available in the HRP website for public access. We are proactively preparing the anticipated questions, and we'll be having that published as frequently asked questions and updates. The dedicated contact email will be provided for the community members, just in case if they have any questions, just again send out an email. In parallel to that, we will be running a social media awareness campaign to support public engagement. On the timeline wise, we are in the current middle of phase 1, which focuses on cloud platform readiness and going live. So the targeted date to complete that by August 1st, 2026. Following that, we'll have in-car camera that going to be begin in mid of August, and then we'll have that plan to complete by end of September. By late September and early October, the phase 3 will begin, which is the body-worn camera, and target to complete that day by January next year. So those are all the updates from our side. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Mancini.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Henry, welcome.
Thank you.
This question may be for the Chief McLean. So the cadets that are going through their training now, are they receiving training on body-worn cameras? Or will the next group also be receiving it? Is that be part of the?
No one's received training on body-worn cameras as of yet in terms until everything's solidified in terms, and we'll provide it to everyone in the process of how it unrolls. I'm not aware.
No,
of it.
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So that's the next phase. When does the next cadet camp start again?
The next one?
Yeah.
It'll be in the fall of
So
this year.
possibly that group would receive training, I would assume.
Yeah, I think we will be planning that. If we have the proper To be honest, like we didn't get full present or training from Axon because body worn camera is phase 3. That's the last project. So
Understand. Yeah.
if we can have that ready, and then we're more than happy to give the training to the cadets.
Chief Superintendent Duff, can you give us just a very quick high-level update? All your officers have body-worn cameras now, correct?
Yes, through the chair and the commissioner, we're 100% deployed.
And just at a high level, what is the overall response to that by officers, by the community that you police, and
Wish we had had them 20 years ago, 30
Yeah.
years ago. Very, very positive, exceptionally positive.
and have you gone to court using that evidence from the videos so far?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and significant amounts.
Right.
And I mean, it collects a lot of evidence.
Right.
So they're a fantastic tool.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Akindosia.
Thank you very much, Henry.
Yeah.
I'm only worried that the most important thing is the policy driving the whole program. And I'm looking at your program timeline and policy and training, basically for me, it's not included in timeline. So let me finish. So if it's not included in timeline as a project manager as well, it means this project may or may not be going up and down. I would not put a confidence in this project timeline if it does not include everything.
So I understand. So we didn't mention that here because that is completely dependent on how soon we get the staff. So right now that's the main roadblock for us. So we'll have that training. So we're already working on training. We are documenting everything. Like we're asking RCMP and other agencies for help on them, how they did the trainings and stuff. So we're going to replicate the same. We are not going to reinvent the wheel. So that's the plan. That's already been going on. Team is really working on capturing everything, training documents, who's going to train, where are they going to train, which divisions and all that.
Sorry. It's not the plan. The plan is the timeline. The plan of this project, the whole program, is a timeline. Unless that is included in this, honestly, I don't think, we're not approving this, are we? Okay. I'm advocating or advising. This timeline is faulty without including finalizing your policy. We would like to see the policy. It's not included there. The chief said, training is not included. Now, you don't even know what that, and there's so many data and information that we can borrow from the RCNT group and If that is in the timeline, I would have loved it. So I'm just saying in terms, because I just went straight to your timeline when I was reading this, and I said, this is a little bit faulty, but maybe there's so much in you, but it's not included in this timeline.
I'll make sure I'll capture everything next time.
If you can.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hinch.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. So I'm not sure how many were attending the Violence Against Women Survivors and the body-worn camera seminar yesterday, but it was very informative and there was a lot of concerns with regards to that. So I'm not sure if you can answer if you know how to address that, if that's going to be addressed within training or policy. So I'm just want to know if that's going to be within the policy.
What exactly are you?
Maybe he did attend, so it's not. Maybe I attended that yesterday.
So did I.
Yeah.
But maybe he
There
did.
was a Canadian Association of Police Governance online conference yesterday, which was focused on the topic of body-worn cameras and their usage in the dealing with domestic violence type, partner violence types calls by police when they're arriving on scene. There was a number of areas of concerns, suggestions that were potentially policy related, and I think Commissioner's questions directly related to from the learnings there. Are we taking that into consideration?
Yes.
Yeah, those will be addressed in policy, and as I'm sure they already are with the RCMP. now.
It was a collection of national surveys and experiences that was delivered nationally yesterday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a question on the training. is it the DEMS coordinators who are doing the training, or is it the vendor doing the training, or is it train the trainer through
So it-
sergeants? And how's the training working?
So the plan is to have vendor trains the DEMS coordinators or DEMS clerks. They'll be the ones who will be training the other folks, like East and West and Central.
Okay. I don't know. I would think it would be, how did the RCMP approach training? Did they have, members train members, or did they have, in this case, these aren't members, people who are experienced in policing. I'm just wondering how that you guys approached your training.
Our training consisted of, if I recall correctly, was 2 online components, and then a brief. It was all done internally, train the trainer type situation, because the training is not that difficult to achieve. A very short period of time. I mean, the biggest thing is when, to ensure they're activated at the correct times and they're used in the correct manner, and the information is, dealt with properly after the fact. So it's actually a fairly quick process.
No, I appreciate that, but was it members teaching members, or was it?
Yes.
It was.
Yeah, it was the trainer. So a bunch of the members got trained and then carried on from there.
Okay. Just, I had a concern about new staff being hired
Yeah.
who may not have experience in policing, now being asked to deliver training on a very short timeline around something that they're probably still learning about themselves.
Yeah.
In terms of, how police officers work, respond and such. So that was a concern.
Yeah.
But any other questions from any other commissioners?
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Is this system really different from the LCMP system? If it's not,
Same vendor.
yeah, same vendor, same. Why would we not suggest that some officers now in HRP proceed to RCMP and have some training, like the chair said, team training team, just basically, because extending this timeline project is, if we can identify some senior officers that would be involved.
I have no concerns about the training piece. That'll be fine. Like the issue is around getting all the stat, like we're not turning anything on until we have the people that are in place that are able to redact and do all the other stuff.
Chief,
'Cause
my
that's-
concern is not
that's the
just the
important part.
physical use of the equipment.
What's that?
It's training to policy and use that I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Because the policy, Commissioner Virginia has just said something. It was a lot of knowledge for us yesterday when we went through that training. And I'm thinking the policy aspect of it, I'm hoping that, of course, the LCMP has started practice and policy. So that's part of the training that I think it's more elaborate. Is the use of equipment, like the use of a phone or anything, that could be grabbed quickly. But the detailed policy and not getting our men and women of the armed forces get into trouble by jumping into it with this timeline is what I'm worried about.
We will not turn it on until everyone is where they need to be.
Okay.
Commissioner Mancini.
Mr. Chair, if Josh could give an update of where we are with the policy. I think some of us have been more involved than others and may not be aware.
Sure.
We're very close with that.
Yeah. Mr. Bates, would you like to give a brief update on where we're at with the development of the board's policy as it relates to body-worn cameras?
Sure, Josh Bates, Policing Policy Strategist. So I'm working closely with HRP and our HRD colleagues. We've met a couple times already, meeting again on Friday. We're aiming to have a policy for the board's consideration in July. That'll be pending, consensus on a policy going forward, which hopefully will happen at a meeting this week. So yeah, we should have some more information for you soon, but we're working very closely together.
Yeah, so the plan is to deliver a policy to the board for our July meeting with then public, put it out for public review during the month of August with the intent of adopting a policy with changes at a September meeting.
That's the plan.
Any other questions from any commissioners? All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank
Henry.
you for the
Much
opportunity.
appreciated.
Yeah.
Thanks, Henry.
We are going to move on to item 10.3.3. And then we'll be substantially done the public portion, and then we'll be going into an in-camera session. So We're going to do an update on the new police headquarters presentation, and it's the Director of Facility and Design and Construction, Philip Ganduzik. Did I say that right?
No,
No.
close.
Would you?
I've gotten worse. Philip Duganzik, Director of Facility Design
Oh,
and
my
Construction.
apologies.
Good afternoon, and thanks for allowing me to come and provide you an update on the HRP facilities renewal and redevelopment project. Last year in February, we received direction from this board to proceed with an in-depth analysis of 3 potential sites that were shortlisted in phase 3 of a study, and for the development of regional police headquarters. Secondly, to conduct a further, more detailed needs assessment based on HRP and RCMP operations, service delivery strategies, and anticipated organizational growth, including review of HRP programming requirements. So following that direction, in last year, we developed and issued an RFP request for proposals for pre-designed services. The scope of that RFP was to provide a detailed needs assessment and functional program for HRP for all units. Site analysis of the 3 sites that were shortlisted previously, test fits on each of those 3 sites, phased facility improvement plan. If you recall from last year, the likelihood of having one facility is very small, so it's more likely multiple facilities. In addition, all HRP facilities were reviewed as part of this RFP. Then provide a phased facility improvement plan, Class D cost estimates, conceptual costs on those facilities. The results of the RFP, we had 9 bids. The project was awarded to Republic Architecture in Winnipeg, who has experience with police facilities. As a reminder, the 3 potential sites that were shortlisted in phase 1 of the study were 1975 Goddard Street, the existing police headquarters, as well as the property across the street, 375 Cowie Hill, and a location in Burnside, which was originally phase 13, now City of Lakes on John Savage Drive. Excuse me. In terms of schedule for the work that is ongoing, a detailed needs assessment and functional plan will take place between March and August. The next slide will show you where we are in this schedule. Site analysis for the 3 sites, test fits of the 3 sites from July to October, phased facility improvement plan will be developed between October and December, and then providing high-level costing March 2027. So the Republic team visited Halifax in April to review the existing HRP facilities, that's all of them, and as well as the potential sites. Republic have been interviewing various HRP staff to gain insight related to organization and facilities, which will feed into the functional planning. Preliminary site analysis indicates that all 3 sites are viable at a high level, and a draft needs assessment is expected in June. Budget for this work, currently $1.7 million has been approved. $285,000 has been spent to date on state of good repair work, as well as the original phase 1 of this study work. $750,000 of that 1.7 is dedicated to state of good repair work on existing HQ and HRP facilities. $265,000 is the Republic Architecture fees, $300,000 in supplementary investigations, environmental, geotech, and potentially wetland studies, and then $100,000 in contingency. In terms of the overall capital budget, expenditures are expected to begin in the 3rd fiscal year, 29-30, with pre-design work, moving to design in 2030-31.
You'll entertain questions? Or no?
Absolutely,
Okay, we're going to
happy to.
potential. Oh.
Well, I'll start.
Thank you, Commissioner Mancini.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Philip, thanks very much. Good to see you as always. So that last slide, which was hard to read on the screen, what was the overall dollar amount, the total amount on that last slide?
I don't have that, Councillor Mancini,
Yeah.
at my fingertips, but I believe it's in the order of magnitude of $180 million in total.
So there's no question in my mind that we need to address headquarters. If anyone's visited there, there's no question we need to address headquarters. My challenge is, here, and I wear my other hat, when we're going to go to council and say we need $180 million for a new facility, a major headquarters, it's going to be a problem. Without question, it's going to be a problem. We look at the challenge that we're having with the forum, and I know it's apples and oranges, but that's the reality of it. And I know we gave direction, 3 sites. I know the chief, you talked about needing one major site and other sites too, but one major site. I really think we're going to have a problem with this when it comes to council. We need to come up with a more creative approach, in my opinion, and how we definitely need, but having this one HQ headquarters in this day and age with our budget constraints, with all that we need in our municipality, and we need a ton of stuff with our growth, and I fully support addressing the building. I just think we have a big challenge ahead of us. Going to council for $180 million. We have big debate in the community about the forum. And, the forum, which is a recreation facility. Wait till we have the discussion with our community about the police station headquarters. I just, I want to make sure we're coming into this with our open eyes with this. And I just still think there's a missing piece on being creative. Doesn't have to be just a one location. Other police forces across North America do it differently. I just think we I know you'll be given direction, Philip, to do it this way, but I just see there's going to be a challenge ahead of us. I'm just trying to be realistic in here. I want to support an endeavor here, but I see a challenge.
I just want to add, but this is not one police court. This is not one police facility. This is not one police. There will be a need for more than one. This is not one.
Thank you for that clarity. I was a little confused by the statement of scope of what we asked the vendor to do. Maybe you could elaborate on that, because when I read it, it almost seems like they're collecting information around programs and they're assessing the 3 proposed sites. But I toured the other sites, and I do have significant concerns around the current sites, like the Bedford facility, the Dartmouth facility.
I do too.
There's a lot of issues there with those sites. Are we looking at those, or do we have our blinders on and we're just trying to look at a brand new shiny building in one location?
No. Republic has looked at all of the HRP facilities that we have currently. The scope of the study, I'll refer back, and I apologize, I didn't bring the slides with me from the last report and presentation, where there were various scenarios and configurations, whether a headquarters building would be all encompassing in one location, or whether training would be in another location, whether CID could potentially be another. So the view is multiple facilities. The view is also understanding of the fact that West Division is in less than optimum condition. East Division is a leased space similar to CID. And we have the training division at Northbrook, which is also, or training operations at Northbrook, which is also, in need of minimum state of good repair. So the study encompasses all of those functions associated with police, and trying to determine which alignment of facilities will best suit the needs and the budget, as you say.
Well, that's great, because in looking at the deck, it didn't come out clear that they were going to be making recommendations on the other sites as well. And I had significant concern that it was going to be just assessing the 3 new build sites for replacing the Goddigan Street facility.
That is the focus. The focus is headquarters and all of the operations, but it's also recognizing that we have other facilities and other locations that are in need of work and attention.
So the report will come back and give recommendations on all 3 sites.
On the 3 sites that we have shortlisted for headquarters and associated
No,
functions.
I guess I mean the current sites.
Correct.
It's only going to come back and give recommendations related to one of them, or it
Okay,
is,
so
right?
Perhaps I'll have to clarify. So the original scope of this project was to replace 1975
Yeah,
Gottingen Street. 1975 Gottingen Street incorporates a number of operations of HRP. In addition to that, recognizes that a lot of those functions have been over time distributed.
Right.
In addition to headquarters, which contains Central Patrol Division, you have East Patrol Division and West Patrol Division in Dartmouth and Bedford, respectively. So the focus of this study is headquarters functions, which makes sense. We need a Central Patrol Division as well as prisoner care facility. HRP has told us that those should be have to be on the peninsula for Central Patrol and preferably also for prisoner care. So we understand those constraints, but then there's forensics, there's evidence and property storage, there's CID, there's training and simulation, fingerprinting, cybercrime. There are a whole host of other headquarters related functions that are in consideration of this study. And the idea is to locate where they should be and in which facilities. We're going to use one location and one facility, multiple facilities in that one combined location on the peninsula, or are we moving things out to other facilities? Does that clarify things?
It does. I guess I just want to make sure that, West facilities requirements are understood and East facilities requirements are understood and deficiencies or gaps are addressed in those facilities because there are significant gaps in those facilities.
Right.
Commissioner Mancini?
I go back to the creativity piece. You mentioned training, and we've had conversations. Look at Commissioner Moore here about, can we create a training facility that it involves both fire and police, even allowing search and rescue to be in that part because it's part of emergency services. Is that type of creativity looking so we can? I keep going back to the price tag here that we're going to have a challenge with, and I want these new facilities. I want to support this, and I will, but. I think there's a missing element here. Maybe it's too early to have this conversation, but that creativity piece is what I'm looking for.
We haven't been given any direction from regional council to pursue a corporate training facility that would include all emergency services. The focus of this work was specifically HRP.
I understand that, Phillips. Commissioner Moore, do you have any thoughts on this?
Sorry, Commissioner Moore.
I can certainly say that there has been discussions, but as Phil mentioned, we don't have any strong direction from council at this point. There has been discussions on how we may be able to bring some of these back in front of regional council, and I can brief you on that, but I think it's preliminary. It's too preliminary right now. I've had discussions on the mechanism to allow that to happen, but I want to make sure we're following the correct procedures on that. So we're very alive to the fact of the budget. We've actually had a conversation about this yesterday. So the creativity budget and also on options and options with other levels of government and is all on the table. So
okay, thank you,
Commissioner Akindoju.
And I'm very, very sorry. I'm a little bit confused. We're looking at a study at this stage. That's all we're talking about, if I'm right. And the study will provide all the background and whatever, where we need to go or not. But the one that worries me most is my colleague here. If HRM has not approved this budget, because you know that we do not have access to capital budget approval, I don't think we should be talking about this at all. Because until HRM has that in their budget, because in the past, my understanding was that HRM has already budgeted for this over the years and has kept reserves for this. So I'm bothered about that because we've asked these questions before. And this issue has been not on this table for less than 10 years. So my understanding is it's not money of tomorrow or today. It's money that we've been setting aside for this project. And pushing forward to this project is that, oh, now we have some money somewhere. If we don't have the money, why are we talking about it at all? And again, you said approved capital future. Can I understand what that means?
So we have an approved capital plan. It's a 10-year capital plan that's recently approved by Regional Council. And the slide that you're seeing now
Yeah, it's on my laptop here.
is what the budget, the approved budget for this project within that capital program is.
So does this cover the whole 180 million? Because it goes to 40 million and comes back to, I don't understand what that means.
Okay, so the total anticipated budget for this project is $180 million.
Correct.
What you see here is a distribution over the years of that $180 million, starting with
I
pre-design
get
work.
that. That's
design
what I
work,
wanted
construction.
to distribution.
Correct.
So if it's a distribution over that period, the councillors should not be worried that 180 million is going to come out from 1 year budget. It's going to be over a period of time.
That's correct.
But my understanding is this has been accrued over a period of time. If we didn't have money in the coffers, would have been talking about the last 5, 6, 7 years. Because this, I guess, was in HRM budget. That's what we were told. Maybe I misunderstood. So how much of that is already in the budget? So that councillor maybe we have a rest of mind that we're not talking about actual cash outflow now of 180 million. So we're talking about project year 0, project year 10, year 20.
Right now, in
Debt too,
the
right?
approved budget for this project, we have $1.7 million.
That, I guess that's for the
That's for this phase of the study.
Study.
Moving
study, not
forward,
design work.
Yeah, it's study, right.
Yeah.
But isn't this, Bill, isn't this, we would pay for this project out of debt? Is that correct? John, did you hear that? John, we want to give John of the mic, give him a chance. John's our guy, our capital guy, man. He makes the magic happen, yeah.
Thanks. So John McPherson, Executive Director of Property, Fleet and Environment. I was waiting for the right time to come up, so I think
Yeah.
this is it. I think some of the questions I'm hearing are around, what's in the reserves, not necessarily what's shown in the capital plan, but what's been saved over the years in reserves. There is a strategic fund reserve. I can't speak right now as to what's in there and what component is slated for this project. My finance partners would need to do that. I understand generally a project like this would be funded through debt, right, to an extent. So I think what's important to understand that Philip was starting to get at is that when we come back with the results of the study and come back to this board, we're going to outline some recommendations for facilities in certain locations. It's going to demonstrate a plan over time. It's not going to be a lot of money asked for in year 1, right? It may be a series of builds. Each one's going to take some time. So in that report, there will definitely be a large finance section. It will speak to the reserves, speak to funding strategies, speak to maybe potential federal funding opportunities. So those types of things will be well laid out. I think it's early to speak to those right now at this stage of the study. I think we need to let the study unfold, understand the need, understand the opportunities and the options, and come back, I think it's by the end of this fiscal, and outline a very comprehensive analysis, both the technical, the operations, and, very importantly, the funding side of things.
Commissioner Akintoshia.
Thank you very, very much. I think that answers the question. Because, again, this meeting is in public, and I don't want tomorrow to be HRM is looking for 180 million to fund.
Right.
That's not the issue. And I want to clarify that, which you have clarified that it's a combination of funding, reserve funding, debt, period of time. So it's not going to cause a constraint. This project is necessary. We cannot compare this project to a hockey rink. They're two different projects and the two different purposes. So I want to focus on the need for the headquarters. Why? Because we've been talking about it. There's a critical need for it. We are obsolete in where we are today, and that's why this is necessary. So thanks for clarification of the financing of part of this. Thank you.
Just for clarity, is the, on the current budget, on the line items, is the 66,000 for RPL, is that Republic?
That's Red Pepper Littlewood. That was phase one of the study.
Oh, I see. Okay. So the current assessment project that's going on is the Republic consulting fee of 265.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. And so just to clarify, so it's going to be a kind of a future state vision for how, where services should be located. And, you know, we might see a bigger building over here, a smaller one over here, bigger or equal size. Who knows what the future might be? But that's what we've asked them to come back to.
So that's what the phasing
Right.
plan really alludes to.
Yeah.
And as John suggested, it'll be one building. So for instance, let's hypothetically look at 1975 Gottingen Street and the parcel of land across the street, if that's where we end up going. So more than likely, you can't eliminate Central Patrol Division and prisoner care without having a place for them to go. So
Yeah.
you would build that first, and whatever else is going to be in that particular piece of the facility, then you would demolish the existing and potentially build the rest there, or do something else with the land and build somewhere else. Those are all unknowns that we're trying to get out with this study.
Right. And these numbers here for the, 6 years of, capital expenditures where it says approved, is it really more of an estimate or like?
It's essentially a placeholder. It's our best
Placeholder.
guess at what a project like this is going to cost. But let's recognize that if we build a building first, so we have to do a design, that's approximately a year's worth of work. To build it is another 2 years of work. So there's 3 years where you have one facility in design and construction. Then you relocate whatever parts of the operation into that new facility, and then you do the rest of that, either the demo or the
Sure.
other side. So it's going to be phased. This is our best guess today with very little information.
Right. And is this idea to create a forecast to address the gaps in all the facilities, or is this just addressing the gap at the one facility?
This is focused on headquarters.
Right.
Correct. It
So
doesn't
a
it doesn't-
true asset renewal program for policing would be much greater than this estimate.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair.
Commissioner Hinch.
Thank you. 1975 Gottingen Street. Can you clarify the parcel of land across the street? Can you clarify what that
That's
is?
Centennial Pool site.
Okay. 375 Cowie Hill and the Burnside. Are they HRM property?
Yes.
Okay.
Halifax Water, probably.
The Burnside property, yes, it is.
It is? All right, thank you.
No other questions? All right. Thank you very much. Good,
welcome.
good, healthy dialogue. I'm sure it won't be the last one. Thanks very much for coming. We are going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to reconvene for an in-camera session. So, oh, sure. Are there any motions? None. Are there any added items? No. Okay. Check. 11 and 12 are done. Oh, I see. Okay. Right. Thank you kindly. Can we have a motion to convene in camera? Thank you, Commissioner Mancini. Thank you, Commissioner Hinch. And a vote. Oh, my apologies. All those in favor of moving in camera? Motion passed. But we'll take a quick break before we go in there. So let's take a 10-minute break. Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Welcome back, everybody. Can we have a commissioner read in the first motion from the in-camera meeting? Madam Clerk, let us know when you're ready. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would a commissioner like to, this is in relation to 13.1.
I'll put it on the floor, Mr. Chair, that the Board of Police Commissioners for the Halifax Regional Municipality adopt the direction provided in camera, in private. So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Mancini. Thank you, Commissioner Carter.
Question?
All those in favor? We have to do each one. All those in favor of the motion as presented for 13.1? Motion carried. Next one. Item 13.2, contract negotiations, private and confidential report. Would a Commissioner Carter?
That the Board of Police Commissioners for Halifax Regional Municipality adopt the direction provided in camera, in private.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter. Seconder. Thank you, Commissioner Mancini. All calling for the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Personnel matter, private and confidential. Would a commissioner like to read that one in? Thank you, Commissioner Akindoshi, for reading the motion in. Seconder for that motion. Thank you, Commissioner Mancini. All those in favor? Motion carried. Can we move on to item number 14, Madam Clerk? Any notices of motion? No notices of motion. Madam Clerk, have you received any notices of motion?
No, there's no notices.
Thank you
of
kindly.
motion.
Date of the next meeting is July 15th. Correct, Madam Clerk?
That is correct, Chair.
Right. So this says September 2nd. And then item 16. Thank you, Commissioner. We don't need to second that, right? We're done.